Hey. Well, welcome everybody to the Eagle Cliff Water System Community Information Session. Today is July the 30th. We are lucky enough today to be joined by a group of people from the municipality to start with. We have Kristen Watson, who is our Chief Financial Officer and also our Acting Chief Administrative Officer right now. We have Sarah Kasari, who is our Director of Engineering. We have Garrett Dunce, who's our utility manager. We have Annette Frischman, who's our utilities coordinator, and I'm Sarah Baxter. I am the communications coordinator. We are also lucky enough to be joined by three members of Vancouver Coastal Health. We have Alex Choi, who is the medical health officer. We have Ross Adamson, who's a drinking water officer, and Phil Muirhead, who's the drinking water specialist. So to start with, I'm just going to request that all questions please be held until the section after the presentation, so after Sarah has made her presentation. We do need you to raise your hand. There is a raise hand function, which Sarah will show you how to use when it comes time for that. And yeah, I think we may as well just start off with Alex, if you're ready.
Yeah, happy to. So as Sarah said, my name is Dr. Alex Choi. I'm the medical health officer for Bowen Island and the North Shore. And we're very lucky to have two of our best on the call with me today. I have within our public health team, we have a very large team of inspectors and nurses and policy specialists. And two of those folks who have the most to do with drinking water systems are here. We have Ross Adamson, who, as you know from Sarah and just from the community probably, is the drinking water officer for Bowen Island, and Phil Muirhead, who has more of a regional role with us. So we're all here today to provide some information. As you may have seen, we provided a very similar presentation to council a few weeks ago, and this is part of our ongoing efforts to ensure that we are providing as much information as we can, not only to council, but to the community as well. Can everyone see my screen all right? Okay, sounds good. Oh, for some reason, it did not advance. That's interesting. There we go. So to start off with, as you may know, we work within the treatment objective guidelines as part of a number of different pieces that are put out by the province as well as the feds. And so what we use in BC is the drinking water treatment objectives for surface water in BC or for groundwater, depending on whether you have surface or groundwater. And as part of that, we like to make sure that there is a minimum log reduction of viruses, cysts, and making sure that we have a certain number of forms of treatment and maximum turbidity levels, and no detectable levels for indicator bacteria. And the reason why you see blanks in these spaces over here is because the numbers that you apply here will really depend on what kind of system you're talking about. So for surface water, we have two treatment objective standards. So we like to make sure that surface water, you're meeting, here you can see 43210. And what you do is you plug these numbers into these areas up here to come up with what we expect for minimum treatment objectives for disinfection. And groundwater has these three treatment objectives, again, depending on what kind of system you have. So surface versus rainwater systems are different. GARPs versus GARP viruses and low-risk systems are different. And again, you just plug these numbers into here. And that's how you get how we determine if the treatment system is sufficient. So for the Eagle Cliff water system, which is what we're really here to discuss today, we do have a number of concerns. So, our main concerns are really water quantity, for one. There's also a lack of filtration, and turbidity does periodically exceed 1 NTU. And that is a problem because it prevents treatment from happening. And, it also prevents to some extent us from being able to understand what's happening in the system from a testing perspective. One of the worrying things and one of the reasons that we're talking about Eagle Cliff today is because there was recently, in addition to the main concerns that we knew about, also a concern about bypass during times of high water demand. And to me, this sort of falls into or relates to at least that piece around water quantity. So, we have an ongoing concern with water quantity. Even now with those times of peak demand, where it'll bypass the UV. And increasingly, we think that there will continue to be a issue with water quantity that may get worse over time. And that's one of the reasons we're having this meeting, because I think what we're seeing is what we have in the system may not be sustainable over time. Already, we have a concern that the quantity is unsustainable because during times of high demand, that UV bypass valve opens. And what happens during that time is that there's only partially treated water that's being distributed. And that's why you may have noticed, and we want to talk to you here, that we have now issued a water quality advisory for people with compromised immune systems. Now, I do want to be clear, this is not a boil water advisory. So you may know that there are communities out there that are on permanent boil water advisories because their water is believed to be hazardous for the general public. There's also communities that are on do not use advisories. So, even for uses apart from drinking, it's thought to have significant public health risks. The risk that you're experiencing right now is quite similar to what you'd have in, say, Cove Bay, where, for the average person, probably not very risky. But for some people who are immune compromised, or for people who are very elderly, or for people who are very young, such as babies, using it for formula and things like that, there could be significant risks. And this is partially also an issue because in general, the system is not meeting the 43210, which is the standard that will apply to this particular water system for surface water. And that's really because of turbidity, lack of filtration, and inconsistent reduction of cysts. So if we go back to the previous slide on, what we expect of the water systems, currently, this is not being met. And I think our bigger concern is maybe what happens down the road as we start to have increasing issues with things like water quantity. The lucky thing is that there is a bit of a solution that the staff has been able to put forward. I'm not sure sometimes it's entirely clear what the division of labor is. From VCH perspective, we are the regulators, but we are not the operators of the system. We really defer to the municipality for that now. And so, they have come up with what we believe to be a very reasonable solution, connecting the Eagle Cliff water system to the Cove Bay water system. And we've heard the construction is now complete and the connection is ready, which is great news. So, I think just thinking about overall, and we mentioned this at previous meetings with council, where we do give periodic updates, and of course, happy to give periodic updates to the community as well. We do have a number of systems. The Eagle Cliff system is not alone. There are a number of systems where there are concerns. You can see for Eagle Cliff here, you are meeting for log reduction of viruses, but the cysts is a bit of an issue. The 2 forms of treatment can be a bit of an issue for you. And the 1 NTU max turbidity can be a bit of an issue, although of note, you do have 0 detectable indicator bacteria. So that's great. However, with the potential connection to Cove Bay, the expectation is that with the commission treatment plant with filtration, you'll be able to meet all of these. So, with that connection as it is, you'll at least be able to address the water quantity issue. And then over time, the expectation is you'll be able to actually address all of these issues with the same treatment plant that's going into Cove Bay. So I think that's what's been proposed so far, but we really did want to hear from the community and have an opportunity to engage more with the community. I think we envisioned that most of the time would really be for questions. So I'll maybe pause there. We did something similar with the council, where we're really here to hear from you and provide you with any information that you need. And, of course, I'll be asking or I'll be inviting Ross and Phil to also step in and comment. Ross and Phil, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point? Or do we want to go over for the rest of the presentations and just leave it for questions? Okay, let's leave it for questions. All right, so I'll turn it back over to maybe the 2 Sarahs, actually.
Thank you so much, Alex. That's wonderful. So yes, I'll now hand over to Sarah Kasari, who is our Director of Engineering.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, Sarah, we can.
And you can see my screen?
It's perfect.
Okay. So, well, Eagle Cliff Water System, exciting. Um, I just wanted to start with a question about how many of you have wondered, sometimes out loud, sometimes through emails, when this water project is actually going to be done. Yeah, that is exactly why we are here this afternoon. 6 years ago, the Bowen Island Municipality Public Works and Engineering Department identified a serious problem with the Eagle Cliff water system. And today I'm going to show you that the wait really was worth it. And I'm going to be transparent with you about what comes next, including the parts that are still complicated. This afternoon, we have 6 topics for you, and I'll be straight. Some of this, what we are discussing here, is genuinely good news, and some of them is still work in progress. And we are not going to gloss over the hard parts. By the time that we are done, you'll know exactly where your water comes from, what condition it is right now, and what the path forward is. And we'll save the questions for the end of the presentation, but please hold on to them. We will get there. I just wanted you guys to picture a reservoir designed to hold 10,000 cubic meters of water, roughly 4 Olympic swimming pools. Now imagine it has been slowly leaking since 2019, and this summer it will hold maybe 15% of that. What you're seeing on the left of your screen is the Eagle Cliff Reservoir as it stands. The dam has been classified as high consequence by the province, meaning the upgrades are legally required. The watershed is open and uncontrolled, and whatever enters into this watershed flows directly toward your water supply. And turbidity, which is that brownish color or foggy color that you sometimes see, is a result of high turbidity. On top of that, the system has no fire flow capacity. In an emergency right now, it cannot meet the minimum standard of 76 liters per second flow rate. Now, the good news is that we have Cove Bay Water Treatment Plant, and Grafton Lake is a great source. The Cove Bay Water Treatment Plant is a ceramic ultrafiltration designed for 2,400 cubic meters per day, and it is built to expand to 4,100 cubic meters per day. I know we are not still there yet, but we'll get there, and I'll show you what is our roadmap to get there. Before I tell you anything else, I want to show you something. This is the reservoir from November 2025. So this video was taken at the Eagle Cliff Reservoir on a rainy day in November 2025. Let me paint the picture here. And I would like to explain this for people who cannot see the video. It's a gray, overcast November day. Rain is falling, and here is what makes this image so striking to me. Even with active rainfall feeding directly into the reservoir, the water level is critically low. You can see exposed lake bed along the shoreline. This is the reservoir in its wet season, November, when water level should be recovering from the summer. The rain is falling and it still looks like this. And I just wanted to emphasize the fact that this is not a problem for summer drought, but this is a problem with a reservoir that has been leaking since 2019 and can no longer hold volume regardless of the season. This is how 6 years comes down to one afternoon. 2019, the leakage is confirmed. The province flags the dam and the feasibility study starts. So Bowen Island Municipality hired consultant engineers to complete the feasibility, and their recommendation was option B, which was the phase 1 and phase 2 of the project connecting to the Cove Bay for $3.7 million for the dollar at that time. 2022 to 2024, the community goes through the loan authorization process, and $820,000 BILA is approved. Federal funding is secured for the phase 1, and the petition process is completed. And you said yes to this project. 2024 to now, 1,320 meters of new water mains are being installed along Eagle Cliff Road. Flushing is being planned for next week. And basically right now, all the water mains are there. Pressure test has been completed. And the next phase, which is phase 2 is next. We haven't secured any funding for that yet. And this is coming. To achieve fire flows, we need to upgrade the old mains to 250 millimeter between the tying locations for a total length of 1.4 kilometer. Further, the existing 150 mils water main at the south end of the Eagle Cliff for about 800 meters need to be replaced to achieve fire flow in Eagle Cliff system altogether, along with the high zone tank upgrade. We'll get there, we'll talk about that, but today we are at the finish line of the phase 1. So water quality advisory. As Dr. Choi mentioned, Eagle Cliff has a water quality advisory in effect today. As she explained, during periods of high demand, roughly 30% of water supply is bypassing our UV treatment. The water is receiving chlorine disinfection only, which is very effective against most of pathogens and bacteria and viruses. But there are some parasites are not reliably addressed by the chlorine alone, and they require UV light or filtration. We documented this. We had all these communications with Vancouver Coastal Health, and they issued the advisory. And as Dr. Choi mentioned, the advisory is specifically targeted at people with very compromised immune system. This is not a general boiled water notice for broader community. When Eagle Cliff connects to Cove Bay, the Cove Bay advisory will be applied to the Eagle Cliff system. And the problem at the Cove Bay is a combination of the quantity. Thankfully, we are meeting the quality at the water treatment plant right now. All the filters are working properly, but because we are not meeting the quantity requirements, sometimes we have to bypass the system. And that is why they do have the advisory notice there too. So basically, as I mentioned, the notice will be applied to the Eagle Cliff as well. BIM and Coastal Health are coordinating all the messaging together so you receive clear and consistent information. Here is the path forward to lifting the advisory. There are 4 steps that I outlined for you here. The step 1 is filtration modules that we have there. We have repaired the filtration modules and thankfully they are working right now. However, the filtered water, the quantity is not enough, so we have that bypass. On the other hand, we are working with the consultants to increase the capacity of the whole water treatment plant to the next level, and the project is underway. We took some steps toward having cleaner water when we are taking water from the source, and we completed a project for intake flush construction. We are flushing our supply water pipe more often now, so the turbidity and the water being supplied to the water treatment plant is much cleaner now compared to a few years back. What is our target? Of course, our goal is unconditional drinking water for every resident, and we are working toward that goal. I'd like to share this photo with you on the left. We had 7 inches of the drop in the reservoir in a single week in May. This is not a slow, steady decline. This is a meaningful loss over a short period of time. And we need you to know about it, because informed residents make better decisions about water use. We currently are at stage 3 water restrictions. Flushing before connections will drop the level even further, and we would like to encourage everyone to please follow the posted water stage guidelines. Watch for BEAM notifications that usually come. Sarah Baxter is working on them and send it to you guys. And this is a real situation, and we are not going to pretend otherwise. The long-term answer to all the problems that we have, the long-term solution is phase 2, which is a new high zone tank to be upgraded from 168 to as much as 750 cubic meters. You see there are question marks there, and I will get through this shortly. And we will we have some suggestions for the high zone tank and how we can tackle it. In terms of operation and phase 2, here's what we are gonna see in the next month. The water main installation and pressure tests are completed this week, and flushing is scheduled for the next week. You will be notified before any supply interruption. Eagle Cliff then connects to Cove Bay through the new 200 mil water main. the water quality advisory will be in effect. Both systems will run together operationally. Water restrictions and monitoring continues. And we are reviewing the water stage bylaw to make compliance communication clear and, for everyone. And here is some news about phase 2. As I mentioned previously, the Eagle Cliff Dam is going to undergo a seismic assessment. Our intention is to retain the dam, which is, a very precious source of water for the community. And with the climate change and what's going on out there, and, with a drought and long summers that we are seeing year after year, we think that it's more sustainable for us to repair the dam and keep that precious source of water. However, we need to do engineering assessment and see how much it will cost us to just keep the dam for fire flow and for emergency. Keeping the dam will potentially allow the new high zone tank to be reduced from 270 cubic meters down to approximately 250, 1/3 of the current plant size, which is going to be saving for the projects. But however, as I mentioned, we have to go through the consulting, we have to look at cost benefit of each options. So where is your investment? What has been done and what is planned? The new water main, 1,320 meters, nearly complete. It was funded through the federal grants, plus $820,000 in community borrowing. That works out to approximately 1,600 per property per year. Wrap it over the. So we are looking at rapid repaid over 5 years. That is the infrastructure in the ground right now. At the Cove Bay, the supplier and engineers are actively working on options to improve both quantity and quality of treated water from the plant. Phase 2, which is the high zone tank and also water mains, follows once the dam seismic assessment is complete. In 2026, we are working at the Cove Bay Water Treatment Plant capital requirements, and connected Eagle Cliff properties will contribute to those improvements going forward. BIM is developing a clear, fair cost-sharing framework, and we will bring it to the council before anything is decided. There are some frequently asked questions that I thought I should put it out there, and I'll go through them. We've heard from the community why why will be a water quality advisory when connected. Again, this is a regulatory requirement. When two systems connect, the advisory status of one extends to the other one. What about water restriction this summer? The water restriction is gonna stay the same, stage 3 for now, because the levels are gonna drop by the flushing the system. Also, we do have the Carter Road bridge water main replacement, which is feeding the whole Cove Bay and further Eagle Cliff, and we are gonna spend a lot of water there to flush the new water main. when exactly would the advisory be lifted? Once we are done with the filtration modules at the Cove Bay Water Treatment Plant, and when everything is certified and operational and commissioned. I just wanted to tell you that we are pushing hard and we are working hard toward lifting this advisory. What happened to the dam? Right now, there is no plan to decommission the dam. A seismic assessment is required first. We intend to retain it for fire protection and emergency use. And who pays for the Cove Bay Water Treatment Plant improvement? All the connected properties will contribute. BIM is working, as I mentioned, on a fair cost sharing frameworks between Eagle Cliff and existing Cove Bay users. Detail will be presented to council and then will be communicated to the community. Next steps, the new water mains will be flushed and system will be connected. You'll be notified before any temporary supply interruptions. So we do have right now this meeting, and on going through 2026, we are going to work through resolutions at the Cove Bay Water Treatment Plant and investment on how to increase the quantity and quality of filtered water there. Again, as I mentioned, we haven't started on finding out funding for High Zone Tank. We'll reach out to you when we are there. So here, before we go to the questions and discussion, I just wanted to let you know that what we can promise to you is reliable supply and transparent communication and quality water for all. Those are not just words on a closing slide. These are the standards that we are holding ourselves to, and the standards you should hold us to that. And if we fall short, tell us. The water quality advisory, I understand, is in an inconvenience for the community, especially for the households with immunocompromised members. It is more than that. It is not just, it is a daily concern, I understand, and I'm very sorry that this is happening community-wise. We are not taking it lightly, and we are working on it every day. Like I'm right now on working with all the consultants and supplier of the treatment plant to solve this problem. And now, before we go to the questions, I wanted to show you how you can raise your hands because you cannot unmute yourself. I will stop sharing and I will share one picture that you can see how to raise your hands. Okay. Let me see where we are. So please let me know if you can see this screen.
Yes.
Okay, so here, if you can see the mouse here on React, you just click on it and you can raise your hand if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. Yes, the raise hand function is especially important due to the fact that we no longer allow participants to unmute themselves. So I have a couple of people with their hands raised. I'm going to do my best to keep track of the order for everyone. So hopefully we do get through all the questions. If we don't for some reason, there's always the opportunity to send us an email. You can email us at water, WATER, at bimbc.ca, and that goes to a whole group of people, and we'll have a response really promptly for you with that. But first, the first person with their hand up today was Glenn Cormier. Oh, I need to unmute you, sorry. Hang on.
Thank you. Sarah, just so you know, I actually have a more than one question, but respecting everybody else's time, I'd like to just leave my hand up and go to the end of the line. Is that possible? Or do you
Yeah.
want me to? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
I can do that.
So I just want to visit a couple of things. One thing is the fire protection. I get confused over this because I've heard multiple responses to it. My understanding initially is that the fire protection was part of the second phase, and we are not yet scheduled for that. So that will include a new main down the Eagle Cliff Road, if I'm getting that correct. So as we connect, Eagle Cliff residents will not be able to take advantage of the benefit of lowered insurance for the fire protection, and that won't happen until the phase 2 is complete. And right now, there's no time frame in place for phase 2. Is that correct?
This is a very good question, Glenn, and I'm glad that you asked this question. We had this conversation with Councillor Alison Moore this morning and our fire chief. There are two things that we need to consider. One is the fire hydrants, and for fire hydrants to be rated for FOSS, we need to complete phase 2 of the project. However, through the other means that our fire chief is going to explain, I think Erin is here. So through other means, all the Eagle Cliff residents right now are able to apply for that reduced insurance because our fire department passed all the tests for this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah. What was the test that they went through, and now they can? It's the mobilized system.
Yeah, it was
that
the
they can
Superior.
bring water.
Yeah, Superior Shuttle Service. I might defer to the fire chief who is here, Aaron Haynen. Maybe he could expand on that a little.
Yes, please.
Hi, sure. Yeah. So what I can explain is our fire department recently completed what's called the Superior Tanker Shuttle Accreditation. What that means is any residences on Bowen Island that are not currently hydrant protected, or even if you have a hydrant that's not recognized by the fire underwriters, now everyone qualifies for insurance. Their insurance company should recognize them as if they do have a hydrant based on this latest testing that we've had done. And it's unrelated to water systems in your neighborhood. It's an island-wide thing that we've achieved. So everyone should be reaching out to their insurers for residential homes, at least, to see if they would qualify for these lower rates.
And would we not need an updated fire underwriters report, or is that paperwork going to be available to us, or do the insurers just know when we call them?
This stuff, it has been just very recently all been shared on our website. We have a page. I don't know, Sarah, if you can share the link, but all that information is available on our website now. This is all fairly new, just in the last couple of weeks. So,
okay. All right. So and I'll move on after this, but just in regards to the maintaining the reservoir as a backup for fire protection, that's just because we have it, we might as well keep it, that kind of thing. But my question was, initially I was under the impression that Eagle Cliff residents would be on the hook for the cost to decommission that reservoir. And if that's not happening, are we on the hook for the cost of maintaining it as a fire protection asset?
Again, another great question. Well, we have to go through the assessment and see if there is a possibility to keep that reservoir. And we need to come up with the next steps, and we need to come up with the what is the plan if we want to keep this reservoir. And this is going to be through a water master plan that we are working on island-wide and looking at every precious water sources that we have and how we can keep it. And again, when it comes to the cost sharing and whatever is required from the residents versus the whole island versus the whole water system, when they are connected, we'll come back to you with the numbers. And nothing will be passed before we go to the council and we go to the community and be transparent about the numbers and who's paying for what.
Thanks, Sarah. Also, I can also just add a little bit more to that. Just going forward with the long-term plan for the financial cost sharing. It had been our hope, it had been our intention all along to undertake a process to actually merge the two local service areas once this project was complete. That, of course, does require assent of the electors in both Cove Bay and Eagle Cliff. We have a model out on the west side where Bowen Bay, King Edward Bay, and Blue Water Park share a common water source. They are not legally merged. They operate under a type of cost sharing agreement where the budget is actually merged between the two of them, and the local service areas each share a pro rata portion of the operating costs. That is administratively really difficult to maintain. It's not the preference to do it. It takes a lot of work and a lot of additional administration, and the preference is to actually merge the two local service areas. But like I said, it does require assent of the electors in both areas, and a referendum or an elector process would have to be undertaken to do that. So if in the event the local service areas are merged, then the costs become shared among all local service area recipients equally. If the decision is made to keep the two local service areas separate, then Eagle Cliff residents on their own, yes, would be on the hook to maintain the cost, either to maintain the dam, repair the dam, decommission the dam, upgrade the dam, whatever that decision is going to be. So it all depends on what the model is going forward, whether it's a combined merged single local service area or it's a they're operated as two standalone local service areas.
Okay. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Sarah. Next person with their hand up is James Mullen. Are you there, James? Oh, I keep forgetting I have to unmute.
Excellent. Thanks very much. There hasn't been any construction in front of our property, and we are on Eagle Cliff, and I heard the word complete, and we haven't had any notification that we are connected yet. We're right across from Highland Trail at 1481. Is there some sort of phased-in connection, or are we going to be receiving some sort of notification that we are online?
James, I will get your address and I'll speak with our utility coordinator and get back to you on that. Basically, we complete all the water mains, and there are some connections that they are gonna be connected to this water main. And basically, I'm not 100% sure where is your address. We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, we're directly across from Highland Trail at 1481. So I guess the second question to that is there further construction on the road? Mainly because there's a concern about dust and disruption.
Sure, we'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. I have Gurinder. Their hand up. One moment. There you are, you're unmuted.
Yeah, so just on the same lines, as there we're on Highland Trail, so just wondering the same thing. So would be interested to understand when are we switching over. The other part there I saw there was you mentioned the 1,600 for per year. Is that just going to show up in property taxes, or is it going to be a separate line item? Where do we see this, and what does it look like afterwards? Because I think some of the concern is some of these existing systems are going to need some form of maintenance and all that kind of stuff. And so does that how does that show up?
I will take that question. Thank you for the question, Gurinder. So the 1,600 was the estimated amount to carry the parcel tax. So that's for any debt required to fund the cost of the interconnection. So the total amount, as the project's not quite finished yet, the total amount that will eventually be borrowed is permitted to be up to a maximum of $820,000. And that's what that $1,600 a month would be needed to service that debt and pay it off within 5 years. We want to pay it off within 5 years because that is the way that it's going to be the cheapest over the term of the debt. If we have to go longer than 5 years, then it then gets rolled into a bond debenture type of debt repayment, which is it's a very expensive way for the residents to borrow money. And we believe that 820,000 in the big scheme of things, it isn't such a large debt that we should carry it into long-term debenture debt. So we're trying to pay it off within that short-term window that we have, and we can manage that within a 5-year payment period. Now, we don't believe that we're going to be needing to borrow all the way up to 820,000. We believe the likely amount of debt will be in the range somewhere of about 550,000. But again, we do need to make sure that the project is finalized, and the funding for it is coming from a lot of different pots of money. Some of it is coming from grant funds. Some of it is being paid for out of municipal funds. And I really just need to finalize the total expenditures to know what the amount that I need to access the debt. To date, you'll be pleased to know that we haven't borrowed anything on the 820,000. So there's no carrying charges, there's no interest charges up until this point. And these determinations are going to be made in the next couple weeks as the project wraps up. I'll know what I do need to borrow, and I'll know what a reasonable length of time we have up until the 5 years to pay off that debt. So to me, it makes sense to go the full 5 years and pay it off. That will minimize the annual impact on the parcel tax to all of the Eagle Cliff property owners. So I hope that addresses your question about the parcel tax piece. The second piece that you asked was around operating costs. The operating costs will be reflected, the operating costs for the new infrastructure will be reflected in the new Eagle Cliff operating budget. And what we then will be putting forward is a plan to move forward with an actual merger, which we'll put forth to both Cove Bay residents and Eagle Cliff residents to see if that plan is acceptable to the residents in both areas, and we can move forward and merge the systems into one. But until that merger happens, we will be presenting standalone operating budgets, one for Cove Bay, one for Eagle Cliff.
Okay, thank you so much, Kristen. We have Sherry Johnson. That looks a little bit more like Ed to me. He's next, and then after that we have a second follow-up from Glenn as well. So I'll just unmute Ed to start with. There you go. Can you? No, I can't hear you. You could type it into the chat and I can read it if you'd like. or given the amount of time, I guess we could move to Glenn quickly. And then Ed, if you just type your question into the chat or send me an email. I do have my email here, although it looks like now he's frozen. Okay, on to Glenn. Yeah.
There we go. Good, thank you. Yeah, just in follow-up to Kristen's comments about the parcel tax, the 1,600. I initially, and I think others had initially understood that the $1,600 parcel tax over 5 years was a maximum amount to pay off the debt based on the number of connections at the time for Eagle Cliff, but that once the new connection was made, that all of the people along the way who were being given the option to connect, if they chose to connect, it would reduce the parcel tax amount that was going to be encumbered on all the Eagle Cliff residents. Is that not still the case? Will we see reduction on that 1,600 based on the number of connections that pick up the new line?
That is the plan. At this point, we haven't invited any new people to connect to the system. I don't know if Sarah wants to or has additional information about when or if that possibility is there, but I do believe that while we're still ensuring that we can deliver that minimum quantity and required to service the Eagle Cliff area, we're holding off on inviting new participants, and I'll let Sarah provide any additional information.
Yes, Kristen, you're right. We are waiting until we reach the capacity that we need to serve Cove Bay and Eagle Cliff existing connections. And then when we go above that capacity, when we increase the capacity, we are inviting people to connect to the system.
And at that time, those fees that are paid to join the system would be used to reduce the cost to the Eagle Cliff people who are initially paying for the connection project.
Okay. Yeah, I'll defer to Edward. I think he's ready now, and maybe ask another question later on. Thank you.
Oh, wait, no, he's actually just vanished again.
Oh, he's there. I see him.
Yeah.
Can't
Oh,
hear
no,
him now.
there he is. Wait, no. Yeah, that's the other one. Hang on. Okay. You just need to unmute now.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you
Is
go.
this better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
In the 111 properties, those are I'm assuming those are the properties already on the Eagle Cliff water system.
That's correct.
We live on off of Upper Ocean View. Do we have to wait until the 111, the capacity for 111 properties before we can ask to join?
Hi, Ed. Yes, we are working on increasing the capacity of the Cove Bay water treatment plant. And right now, we have very limited numbers that can join, and we are not inviting anyone until we reach the design capacity of the Cove Bay water treatment plant before letting people to connect.
So we don't know if we will be able to connect or not at the moment.
At the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so we have approximately 4 minutes left. I don't see Glenn's hand raised. Did you have another question? You'd mentioned that you had a couple. Oh, wait, no, hang on. Here's Lisa Wrench has just raised her hand. Where is she? Okay. Did you have a question, Lisa?
Hi.
I
can you
saw
hear me?
Lisa is clapping. I thought she's very
Oh.
happy with.
I thought it was a raised hand.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just a quick question. I know you're saying you'll get back to us about when we're going to be hooked up. It sounds, from everything I've heard, like it's imminent. Back when this first came up, the community was given assurance that the hookup to Cove Bay would not happen until Cove Bay was fully functioning. Obviously, from the presentation by Sarah and by Alex, there's a lot of issues that are unresolved. So I guess in its simplest form, why the rush? Especially given that the issues with Cove Bay have been going on in terms of years now, not months. So why has that promise changed? Why are we being hooked up when Cove Bay is not fully functioning?
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for the question, and I understand your perspective in terms of why we are connecting to the Cove Bay. What is the rush? If you look at the first few slides that I had, mostly we do have quantity problem with the Eagle Cliff anyways, and we invested in connecting these two systems. And right now, this is the right time for these two systems to be connected based on all the analysis that has been done so far. And basically, right now, we don't have any plan to upgrade the Eagle Cliff UV system or anything. So like that water advisory is there. On the other hand, we are spending money and effort on working at the Cove Bay water treatment plant and increasing the capacity, quantity, and quality. And this is the way to move forward to achieve quantity and quality. If you look at the reservoir as it is, we had a drop in the reservoir like 7 inch in month of May. And we were worried, and we are worried about the water supply at the Eagle Cliff for the Eagle Cliff residents. However, the connection to the Cove Bay water treatment plant at least will resolve the quantity issue.
Okay, on that, and the issue about the current status of the Eagle Cliff system, it's not a question so much as I'd just like to add, several years ago when this came up, there were emergency tanks installed up there near the reservoir, which haven't been up there in a couple of months, but up to a couple of months ago, they were brought up there and they have never been filled. They've sat there empty. So I guess I'm just really frustrated is that we did put those emergency tanks up there to be, obviously we can't fill them at this time of year. It's nothing to be done about it now, but I guess I'm just really, really frustrated in that we're being rushed to hook up to Cove Bay because of the situation with the Eagle Cliff system, while at the same time those tanks that were put up there for exactly that purpose are sitting there empty. It's really frustrating.
I have Garrett, our manager of utilities, to answer to that question.
Yeah, those tanks were put up there as a precaution that one year when we had to go onto serious water restrictions because the water reservoir was lower than we'd ever expected it to get. We had a water main break and a few other scenarios that led up to that. So, and they were never intended to be filled with Eagle Cliff water. They were in an emergency. And the reason they were located up there was to have gravity feed. And we were going to bring a small tanker truck over if we had to, just to buy us some time in the event that we needed the water. Fortunately, we didn't need to do that. So we were on aggressive water restrictions and we were really proud of how Eagle Cliff stuck to that. And that carried us through the winter. And because of early water restrictions in the previous years, we've been managing A resident also called me about those tanks. We spoke to the local fire department. They actually would hopefully love those in the future. So it's not like they won't be used elsewhere. They'll be repurposed.
Okay. Thanks,
And
Garrett.
Lisa, I'm sorry, Sarah, just one quick thing here. Where the construction team is here right now and flushing the water main. We cannot flush the water main and do the inspection and leave them without the connection. All those water mains that they are flushed and disinfected needs to be filled up immediately. Otherwise, you guys have to pay one more time after the construction crew is out of the island to come back and do the flushing and then do the connection. So this at this time makes more sense to save money on just one flushing and connecting the system rather than flushing once and let them go. And when we are going to connect again, they have to come back and flush again and they have to charge us for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah and Garrett as well. It is just after 1 now, so we're going to have to close the meeting. If there is anybody with questions remaining, you can send them through via email. I can actually see that a couple of people already have actually during the meeting, which is fantastic. The email address is water, which is WATER @BIMBC. And I received that, Annette receives that, Garrett, we all received that email, and the most appropriate person will respond really promptly for you. So please don't hesitate to send any questions you have through to that. I did I linked in the chat to information about the Superior Tanker Shuttle Service for insurance purposes. Information there, I put, there's the 2 certificates, there's the letters. You should be able to use the information on that with your insurance provider, I would think, but get back to us, I guess, if not. And so with that, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you soon with more updates when we can.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.